Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Beyond the Deck. I'm Beata Rouleau, founder and CEO of Compass Consulting. We help high-growth technology businesses scale their operations. Today, I'm super excited to be sitting down with someone who is truly reshaping the way that businesses think about cash flow and payments. So Dr. Richard Johnsson is here with us today. He is the founder and CEO of ClearIt. Dr. Johnsson is a self-proclaimed Swedish country boy turned Australian fintech founder, which I love that. That gives a lot of your story. ClearIt is an Australian fintech business on a mission to help businesses settle their B2B invoices using a clearing model that lets businesses offset what they owe with what they are owed, which drastically increases cash flow. So super excited to dive into that more because this is really relevant for small to medium businesses that are struggling with cash flow. So Richard, I'm so happy to have you here and just excited to jump in. So I would love to open up the floor for you and just start with, you've really had a diverse career: construction, academia, finance, entrepreneurship. And so would love to hear a little bit about that. And what was the moment or insight that sparked you with this idea for ClearIt?
Well, thank you for having me here, Beata. Yes, that's a good question. My career, I never had a career focus at all, it's just happened. I go wherever I feel like, really. And it's taking me, I lived in 7 countries now, on 3 continents, and it's just, I'm cruising along here, but along the way, I figured out what I wanted to do and what I'm here to do. So, and this idea for the business, then ClearIt, it's over 20 years old now. So it came to me during when I did a PhD in economics, but I wasn't too happy about it, to be honest, what I had to do at the university. So I started studying. I was studying on the side with an American professor, actually, so a lot of old books here, if you can see behind me, old dusty books. But I read every major economist of the last couple of 100 years. So I got to another level of knowledge in my own head anyway. And then I was introduced to some very, very well-read people. One guy, he's published more books than anybody in the whole world, I think. So he was very well-read. And he said, Richard, you've got to study the benefits of clearing for normal people. And I said, okay, I know what clearing is, but how do I study that? And then I looked at all the literature at uni, finance, economics, not a word about clearing. And yet, there are trillions and trillions of dollars every day cleared in the financial system, and there's not a word about it. And it's basically one of the foundations of modern day banking, So, and it's been around for hundreds of years, but not a word about it. So that's how I got into the clearing part. But then, along the way, life happens, and family and kids, and then ended up in financial services, and I did well, and it took me around here. I got headhunted here and there. But in the end, I spent a year at Sydney Uni as well, and I fell in love with Sydney. So it was always a target to come back here. So I've been here 10 years now. So it's my home now. I still follow my old sports team and stuff back in Sweden, but apart from that, I like the beach life here in Sydney.
Are you a surfer in Sydney?
Oh no, I grew up on frozen ice, not
right.
Not waves. No, so I prefer frozen ice. No, I don't surf at all.
And who are your sports teams in Sweden?
Well, I got my team that my dad played for, and I ended up playing for as well, and my son played for a bit as well. So, and that's from my hometown in Sweden. They're called Sirius, a great team. They have a top league soccer team, football team, and a top league winter sport team, which the sport I played. So, called Danny. It's like ice hockey. So, yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, so for the people like me who did not get a PhD in economics and did not read all of those books, can you explain, I love that you said clearing for normal people or regular people. So can you dumb it down? What is clearing, and why does it matter for small to medium businesses?
Yes, of course. Yes, so what happens is that when you want to transfer money from your bank account to someone in another bank, like you want to pay a supplier or something like that, you think you're transferring $10,000, but no transfer is actually happening. So what the banks do instead is that they sit down every day and several times a day nowadays and say, okay, hello every other bank, how much do we owe each other? Because there's a crisscross of payments going between the banks in every direction, so it's like a grid or a network. And in Australia alone, it's like $300 billion every day. And in the US, it would be like 10 times that, of course. So, but they have these gross amounts shuffling around, but they don't do that. Instead, they say, okay, let's net this off and settle the balances. So instead of sending, $300 billion across, they might be sending a fraction of that. And this has, huge advantages for them. First of all, they don't have to make every transaction. It becomes a ledger entry, basically, like a bookkeeping exercise. So they don't need to worry about sending the money here and there. And you can imagine in the past they would have to walk over the cash, before it was like computers. And that's how it came about. They didn't want to do that anymore. So that's what they do. But then they net that off. So every day they net it off and just run it on the net balance. So they don't need all that capital. And they know that tomorrow, I know that I will have to pay $100 billion, but I don't need the cash. And then next month the same, every day. And that, of course, gives them, frees up that working capital. It takes out that risk of not getting paid because they can net it off. And all of these things are like fundamental to the banking system. They can't run without it. And if you look at the bank's balance sheet, they almost have no cash in there, because they, compared to the assets, so very low cash ratio. So they free up that space in the balance sheet, so to speak. They can do other things with that money. They lend it out and whatever they do. So that basic idea that you can run the business almost without cash is of course completely different to what we are doing as normal businesses, because we're chasing the cash all the time. It's not a win-win. It's like a zero sum. If my cash flow gets better, it means someone else's gets worse. And that's what we want to get rid of, and that's what the banks figured out, that we don't need that. So, you sign up a customer, you shake hands, everybody's happy, and then it comes to payment, and then becomes like your enemies, So we want to get rid of that, because if we work together on that as well, everybody's in the same boat. So we need a solution that is working for everybody at the same time. And so we're just mimicking what the banks have been doing for hundreds of years. And we're just bringing that to normal businesses.
Okay, no, that's extremely helpful. And so how does ClearIt, who do you serve, and what is the actual, if I'm a business owner and I'm struggling with this problem, how does it actually work tactically for me to use ClearIt's technology?
Yeah, so the technology is not hard, really. So we got a simple dashboard. You just see your payables and receivables, and then you see the net balance. But we implement this in two steps. We first set up your payment so we can see what's coming in. So we see your cash flow, and then we can pay your bills for you at the same time. So you get instant value from what we're doing. But then we start coordinating with your customers and suppliers so we can net things off. So you got a customer that owes you 10 grand and you got to pay a supplier 10 grand. You don't need cash for that. We can net that off. So that's what we try to build up your clearing network as a user, so you can start running the business on less cash and get all these other advantages. You get a lot of accounting advantages from this as well. It simplifies and saves you a lot of time on that side.
Right, versus a volume of transaction, back and forth transactions, allows simplification. What types of businesses, obviously we've talked about like SMBs, but are there certain industries that you're seeing are getting a lot of value out of this service?
Yeah, I mean, in the end, every business could be doing this, but I think the sweet spot at the moment for us are the industries that run on kind of tight margins, tight profit margins. So if you think about the banks, here in Australia, they're running like 35% profit margins year in and year out, extremely big and powerful. And then you have manufacturing, you've got wholesalers and stuff like that. They could be running on 3, 4, 5, 6, 7%. So any little change to that situation would improve the cash flow and everything for them to a great extent. And we're talking to businesses here where we potentially can double their profit. So,
right.
So that's just like crazy, but that's how the banks are operating, without the cash. So.
Right. Little percentage changes on profit can have a huge impact for businesses.
Yeah.
Okay, so manufacturing is an example of a sector that I'm sure has a lot of value out of this type of service.
Yes.
That's great. I would love your opinion, everything that you know about the fintech market. Are you seeing any major shifts or trends in the current market that you think are interesting or worth highlighting?
Uh, well, I think a lot of the fintech industry has been focused on making everything a bit quicker and more efficient, but not changing what's really there. So apart from some things like maybe Bitcoin is a little bit different, fair enough, but and the crypto space maybe, but the rest is quite standard, I think, and even stable coins and all of that. So it becomes a hype, but what is it? It's just another US dollar, that someone else sets up. So it's not a big difference. It's not a shift in any way. So so I think that comes from where do people get, what books are they reading, what's the kind of background, what are they taught at uni. It's all very, very standard. You have to get out of the mainstream to try to create something different, I think, and I think there's more and more of that because the internet helps that. When I started reading all these dusty books, I mean, look, I there was like 5 people in the world I could talk to, and now it's just like, some of those things are totally mainstream,
Yeah. What is your favorite book on that shelf, if you have one?
Well,
I probably won't know it, but maybe
yeah.
some other people would
Yeah,
know
in
it.
economics, not that I agree with everything, but there's a book there by an American professor who was my kind of mentor when I did my side studies. He's got a self-education course. His name is Professor George Reisman. He lives in California. It's called Capitalism, that book. It's like 2,000 pages of small print, so it's not for everybody. But it's a very good book. I know other good ideas you can complement that with, of course, but a very good book and
Okay.
completely original. So he's read all these old books, and then he founded his own opinion about things and his own understanding, and that's what I try to do as well. For my own opinion about things and understanding about things. So because if you study economics today, if anything is more than 10 years old, they call it economic history. So that you don't actually get exposed to anything, apart from you might have a communist professor that has read some of Karl Marx, but apart from that, there's nothing, old. Nobody's read any old books.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Okay, we're going to shift a little bit from the fintech industry more to just CEO running a business. I would love to hear what right now, like what's working well for you, what's working well for your team, and then what are some areas that are challenging or frustrating given the current market?
Well, I think as a startup, there's always when you're not generating enough revenue yourself to cover your cost. Of course, that's always a challenge with capital raising and all of that, and it takes up a lot of time, and it's taken up a lot of my time. Over the last year and so on, so that's always a headache. But I don't think that's if you can put that aside and kind of bootstrap things, try to do that because that's always better than in negotiating with VCs and so on, because that's hard work and you often you miss the fine prints there. I got friends who miss the fine prints, and it's not a good situation. So try to bootstrap it if you can, and just survive. Maybe some mom and pop investments and stuff like that. So that would be the one thing I think that I've learned. But then also, we pivoted a lot. We took it to the market with one business model, and we changed that a lot, which. We had to take a breather, basically. We had to stop. No, this is not growing fast enough. We've got to figure out how to do that. And as we are a fintech, of course, we have to go through compliance with the new business model and everything. So that took 2-3 months to get clearance from our payments provider and the bank behind them and stuff like that. So, but you have to do that. Otherwise, you're running in the wrong direction. So and that, of course, wasn't planned. So, the whole cash flow, of course, when you open up and you shut down, it's not good for the cash flow. And so, very, very high flexibility in whatever you're doing. But the other thing that, has come out of that is, of course, that we started looking at more leaner solutions and a lot more AI actually that we can use in various ways. It's actually quite helpful, not only from the tech perspective on the platform, but also in everyday life, I think there are tools that it makes life easier. That's for sure.
You are speaking my language. I work with a lot of businesses that are either looking for that first seed round, looking for a Series A, looking for a private equity acquisition. And my recommendation, I completely agree. If you are able to bootstrap it, do it, because it does give you so much more flexibility and freedom. But also the mentality is very different if you are bootstrapped, because you're focused on profit, where when you receive an infusion of capital, then oftentimes you're trying to grow really quickly, and profit is low on the list of priorities. And businesses can't operate without profit unless you get more cash. I know that's probably crazy from your economic understanding, but it is something everybody wants, that flashy investment, but it might not be the right solution for everyone.
No, exactly. And, people high five when they raise capital. I think we should high five when we make a profit.
Yes. And also agree, the leaner solutions in AI, what are some tools or ways that you're using AI to support your business's operations?
Oh, look, we can draft, legal documents in 10 seconds, that, you go to the lawyer and it takes 2 weeks and 10 grand, So those basic things, it's, either you have a legal document or you don't, because, forking up 10 grand for getting like something simple, it's just
Right.
it's not, you don't have to do that today, They might make a better document, but it's better to have a half good document than no documents, So all of that stuff, all the marketing stuff, you get like a 3-second opinion on everything you do, everything you want to say in script and publish and all of that. And then on the business model, business side, all of that, sales things, I've been in sales and head of sales at the bank, but you learn a lot when you got someone to throw things against and get some feedback on. So all of that is handy. So many ways apart from the tech itself on the platform, where we have the scanning of invoices and all of that, which was separate fancy businesses 3, 4, 5 years ago. And now it costs us like $2 to set up ourselves, so it's changed quite a lot.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear that. As you're thinking about your business, are there certain metrics that you're really focused on right now, in improving or decreasing? What metrics are you thinking about as a CEO?
Yeah, well, we have a strong focus, as we are a network model. We have 2 aspects that we need to track, and that is the virality and the network density. So we can sign up, 100 new customers and they don't know each other. So in a network model, that doesn't work very well. So if you sign up 100 people for Facebook from scratch and they don't know each other, nobody has anybody to talk to. So we need that connectivity, and then we need, when we sign up a customer, we also need them to work with their customer and supplier. So we need that virality that is spreading to their customers and suppliers. So we measure that very closely, because those, even if we are running it on a few amount of users, if we can get those metrics right, we can just extrapolate that, and we know that we're on the right track. We know that if we sign up, if one user comes on board and signs up another 1 or 2 of their customers or suppliers, we know that this we will have covered every company in Australia within a year.
Wow.
Because that's the exponential growth model, and even if it starts like slow, it's still exponential until you can see it on the curve. So those are we know that we can very early see that we're on the right track, and that's why we stopped and pivoted, because I could do that maths, and I said, this is not fast enough. This is not a business that will trickle along over the next 10 to 20 years. This has to take off, and if we don't have the stats to do that, we're on the wrong track, so we track that with
so virality and network density, those are kind of the 2 you're focused on from the standpoint of how quickly can we capture the Australian market.
Yes.
Is the hope to stay in Australia? Are you planning to expand beyond that?
Yeah, no, we already have a company in the UK and a guy on the ground there. We got some LOAs from some really good companies there, so we could possibly, focus on that in parallel here. And then, of course, we've been speaking to investors and so on over in the US for a long time, and Europe, but and we got people in India and Singapore and Hong Kong. We were the top 4 best payment innovation in Asia Pacific here last week. So we're getting attention from all parts of the world. But in the end, I'm on a mission to spread this to everybody, and I'm just going to try to spread it as fast as I can. But if it was only Australia, it's a big market here. There's $4 trillion of B2B payments here that nobody has really covered properly, because it's all one-sided expensive solutions, and we just want people to cooperate like the banks do. So even if it was only Australia market ever, then it's a big market enough to have a really, really big business.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great. Okay, another question for you. So if you had, it's the magic wand question, you're going to love it. But if you had a magic wand and could fix one thing that you feel like is holding your business back, what would that one thing be?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess I would want some more time.
It's where you ask the genie for 3 more wishes.
Yeah. No, exactly. No, if I could get more time and just keep figuring things out, it's like we're walking along a trail that's nobody's been walked on before, and we've got to figure. Sometimes we take the wrong track when we come to a boulder. We're going the wrong side of it, and we have to backtrack and so on. So, but that's fine. That's part of that's kind of entrepreneurship in a nutshell. I guess, but not sure. So of course that would be handy, and right now we wouldn't mind some better funding for not a lot, but just so we know that we can push harder at what we're doing now. So we're basically ramping up the sales now. We've got a solution that people want, and then we just need to ramp up the tech build and the integrations we want to make, so everything is smooth and so on. And we don't have the bandwidth to do everything we want at the moment, so that would of course help. But we'll make it happen either way. But that would certainly help if I could get. I want to put a couple of $100,000 in my bank account.
We'll put it out there. Hey, whoever's listening. So with all of that, you obviously have a big vision for where you want to take this. Let's focus on the next year. Like if we're looking back a year from now and you're just over the moon with where ClearIt is, what does that look like?
Well, that would be that we have already, we're on track or have captured the Australian market. We can see that we're growing like crazy here. And then we would have been, started up in other places. And if we can just get the traction here going in Australia, I know that we will get attention from a lot of markets, a lot of big players, because this is not a niche market. It's not a small business. It's like the 75% of the economy of any country are B2B payments. So it's not like a little tiny niche we're addressing here. So I think if we can get to that stage, then the cat is out of the bag, which has always been my target. I want to have 1 billion plus users, just because I want to 1 billion plus people to benefit from this the way the banks have been doing for hundreds of years, and just make life easier and ease the burden of the day-to-day life, and so they can focus on more beautiful things than chasing each other's about payments.
Yeah, no, that's so good. Okay, one more question. If you could give a word of advice to yourself when you were starting ClearIt, so thinking about people who have an idea, they're wanting to pursue something, what word of advice would you give to those people that are wanting to start something or have an idea?
Be brave. When you have an idea that nobody else, and it's your idea, it's a fact that, very few people will believe in that. Most people don't. They listen to what everybody else says, and if it's not been done before, that's not on their radar. So you won't get support. They will come and congratulate you when you do well, for sure, but you won't get that support. So don't expect that. Try to, be brave and like I say, if I don't do this, I will regret it in my life, and you got to try to live an authentic life and do what you want. So sometimes you just have to go for it and be brave, and then, and fail like a hero if that's the case, So just hang in there, be resilient, keep going, don't give up.
So good. So good. We need to put that on a t-shirt. Anything else you wanna share with the audience before we wrap up?
Yeah, no, I think no, I can't come up with anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, we covered a lot. So if people want to connect with you or with what ClearIt's doing, what's the best place for them to do that?
Probably LinkedIn. I'm on there, and
Okay.
I follow that. So that's the
Great.
easiest way to get a hold of me if anybody wants to be
Okay.
part of ClearIt's journey.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for coming on and for educating on clearing, teaching us about that, teaching me something about Australia, something about Sweden. I've learned a lot from this conversation and really excited about your mission. I love the 1 billion user goal for the purpose of 1 billion people being able to benefit from this solution that can better their lives. So super excited to see ClearIt all over the headlines when you go in Australia and go beyond. But thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you. Bye.